it's me, Sweetie, and thank you for being here for my newest video. So despite the fact that I am wearing shorts and a crop top, it is actually very cold outside. So I think the time for cold weather clothing might actually be upon us. Now, something that I love to do when the weather turns cold is knit. I learned how to knit when I was in 3rd grade from my grandma. She taught me just super basic stuff. She used to knit me slippers, and she would knit my mom and my uncle clothing when they were little. So she passed that down onto me, and I like to just do it as a craft or a hobby. And by far the easiest thing you could possibly knit is a scarf. It's a long, straight object. You're just doing the same stitch over and over and again for hours, and that's it. So I actually made quite a few scarves last year just out of boredom, and of course I had to make them out of super cute, like Kawaii Pastel yarn. I add some little star beads. I think you might be able to see them in there. So this one is like really soft baby colors, pink and mint and yellow. And then I have this one, which has more like galaxy mermaid colors, pink, purple, and blue. And of course I've got the little stars on there as well. And they're really soft. And I think they go really cute with my Kawaii Pastel closet. It's sometimes hard to find basic accessories like gloves, scarves, hats, and stuff like that that are pastel colors or that have a kawaii flair to them. So I decided to make some myself. Not only do they go with my basic everyday closet, but I think they'd be really cute to cord with Lolita as well. Come spend some time with me and I'll show you the very basics of how to knit a Kawaii Pastel scarf. Disclaimer, I am not a professional. I am beginner intermediate at knitting at best. I literally know only a couple basic stitches, and for this scarf I'm doing the most basic knit stitch. I'm not doing anything fancy or polished at all. So please do not consider me an authority on knitting. I don't worry about the weight of the yarn. I don't worry about anything other than, is this yarn cute? Is this yarn soft? Will it be easy to work with? That's it. So please keep that in mind while you're watching me knit my scarf. And with that being said, let me show you how it's done. I have my set of knitting needles right here. I like the metal ones because they make this clackety sound when I'm knitting, and it's quite satisfying. I don't know what these numbers on the tabs here mean, but just for your reference, I am using an 8mm US size 11 pair of knitting needles, and of course, they're pink. Next, I have my yarn, of course. This is a super soft, like baby blanket yarn. It's got this really cute bubblegum pink, a bright sunny yellow, a sky blue, and a white in it. I think it'll be really cute for a scarf, and I also have some matching beads and some yarn tassels that I will show you later when we are building the scarf. So this is not how the yarn comes. Usually the yarn comes in a bundle that's called a skein, a skein. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not a professional, I told you that. But I unraveled the skein, and I made a ball of yarn. My cats have been very interested in this, but I made it into a ball just to make it a little easier when I'm knitting for the yarn to come unraveled. I tied this dang thing in a knot, and now I can't get it out. So to start the scarf, we're going to do a process called casting on. And the first thing you're going to do in order to cast on is tie a slip knot with your yarn. Now the way I do this, I've never taught anyone how to do this before, so hopefully you can see what I'm doing, and hopefully I do it correctly the first time. So I make a basic loop with the yarn, and then I take the yarn and I pull it through the hole that I just made, and you tighten it. And now, as you can see, you can tighten the loop, you can make it looser. Basic slip knot. Pretty easy. So then what you're going to do is through the loop of your slip knot, you are going to insert your knitting needle. Pretty easy. And then you will tighten the slip knot around the needle. Now, not super tight. I like to leave my loops a little bit loose just because it's easier to work with. So there you have it. The slip knot is on the knitting needle. And now we can start the casting on process. So you're going to start with your needle in your left hand, and then you're going to use your right-handed needle to do the working, I guess. I'm not sure what terms to use, so I'm just going to explain it in like dumb baby small brain terms. Hopefully that'll help you. So what we're going to do is take your right needle and you are going to insert it into the loop, and then you're going to go underneath the left-handed needle. So let me do that again. So you're going to come into the loop underneath the needle that's in your left hand, and they're going to be crossed like this. So then you're going to take your yarn that is attached to the ball here, it's just in my lap. You're going to take that and you will wrap it around the needle that's underneath and pull it between them. So you've got your string in between your needles. Then you're going to take the needle that is underneath, which is in your right hand, push it down. I like to use my finger to kind of guide it, and you're going to catch that string that you just pulled between the two needles. And then what we're going to do is pull that loop out you just made, give it a little twist, and hook it onto the needle in your left hand. Pull the needle out, and you've just cast it on your first stitch. So now we've got two little loopy guys here. I'm going to do it again, don't worry. So again, we're going to take the right needle, insert it into the loop you just made. We're going to go underneath the needle in our left hand. Take the string you have here, loop it around that bottom needle, pull it in between the two. Use your pointer finger as a guide for that bottom needle, push it down, catch that string that you just pulled between your two needles, pull out the loop, give it a little twist, hook it onto your left-handed needle, and pull it. And there we've just cast on another stitch. So we've got three little guys here. Now you're probably asking, Heather, how many stitches do I need to cast on for a scarf? Now for me, that depends entirely on how thick your yarn is. I think for this scarf, I want to do 12 stitches, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, I think we've got 12 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, 12 stitches cast on. There we go. So something I do want to mention is that when you're casting these guys on, you don't want to pull the yarn too tight at any point because it can be hard to slip your needle into the loops if you pull it too tight. So try to use a very relaxed hand when you're doing your knitting, or else your stitches will be really tight and hard to work with. So moving on from here, we can begin the actual process of knitting, and it's much easier than you're probably thinking. It's almost exactly like the casting on process that we just did. Alright, so let's move our stitches up closer to the end of the needle here just to make it a little bit easier to work. So just like we did with the casting on process, you're going to insert the needle to your first loop here. You're going to put it underneath that left needle, and we're going to take our string here, loop it around, pull it in between them like we did before in the cast on process, push that needle down, hook the string that you just pulled between them, but this time you're going to pull it off the left needle and onto the right. And we're going to do the same thing again here, loop it through, hook that string you just pulled through and off onto the right needle, through the loop, under the left needle, string around your bottom needle, pull it down, hook the string you pulled through the two, and off onto the right needle. It's that easy, truly. And the last little guy here. There we go. So now that we have knit our first row, you can see that it's gotten a bit wider than it was when we just had the stitches cast on, and so this is going to be the width of our scarf. I think that'll be nice and cozy. And so now I'm just gonna knit a few more rows so you can kind of see how the process looks when we've got a little more chunk added on here. Here we go. So I think I did about 6 or 7 rows. I lost count. This is a great way to just have your brain be empty and not think about anything else. And also the clicking noises I find to be very relaxing. So if you've been feeling stressed during quarantine, I think this would be a great hobby to pick up. And in the end, you'll get a cute fuzzy scarf. So now that I've shown you the basics, I'm just gonna get to working on the rest of the body of this scarf. And then after the scarf is done, I will show you how I add the little star bead details and the tassels. So, pardon me if I look a little crazy, I just finished a Universal Classic Lolita makeup tutorial, which I'll link above for you guys if you're interested. So yeah, my makeup's a little bit done up and then I just went straight back into my pajamas. So I've done quite a bit of work on the scarf over the last few days, and I think it's time to do the cast off process. So in the beginning I showed you how to cast on all the stitches, and now I will show you how to cast them off and finish the scarf itself. So I've got my scarf here, I've got my stitches on my needle, in my left hand as always, so I'm going to do what you normally would do when you are knitting the scarf itself. Put the needle in through the stitch, loop the yarn around, pull it through, and off onto the other needle. So I'm going to do that with 2 stitches here. Okay, easy. Now what we're going to do is the first step of the cast off process. So we're going to come back over here to the first stitch that we put onto the needle, go in through the loop, pull a little bit of the string out so the loop is a little bit bigger, take the needle in your right hand, hook the second stitch that we added onto the needle, pull it through the first stitch, and then pull it off again. And I'll show you again. So we've got 1 stitch on here, we add another, so we're always going to be working with 2 over here. So same thing, we're going to go to the back stitch over here, pick it up on our left needle, pull the loop a little bit so that it's a little bit looser, take the needle in your right hand, hook the second stitch that we added on, and pull it off. And I'll do a few more here for you so you can see. So again, 2 stitches on here. You pick up the back one with your left needle, pull it a little bit so it's looser, take the needle in your right hand and hook that second stitch on and pull it off. And so as you can see over here, we have cast off our first few stitches. And I'll do the rest so you can see as well. Okay, so we've come to the final step. We're going to knit that final stitch onto the needle here, and we will have no other... Oh my god, my cat is over here sneezing. Lovely. So now we have no stitches on our left needle. Yay! We're going to come over here and do the same thing we've been doing. Pick up that back stitch, hook the first one, and pull it off. And now look, we only have 1 stitch on here. What are we going to do? It's very easy. So we're going to take our extra yarn over here, loop it around, so we're kind of just draping it over just to make a little loop, and we're going to do the same thing. Pull that back loop and hook it through. And here we go. And now we just have this, loose thread over here. What are we going to do? So what we're going to do is take a little pair of scissors. So I will cut it. There we go. And then we are going to pull it through and pull it into a little knot, and it will catch. And there we have it. Our scarf has been cast off. So the first way I like to decorate my scarves is by adding some cute little beads throughout the body of the scarf. And the beads I will be using are these cute little stars. They kind of remind me of little Compito candies like from Spirited Away or the shooting stars from Animal Crossing New Horizons. So all I'm going to do is take these little beads and first pin them onto the scarf individually so I can see how they all look positioned together, make sure they're balanced and spaced out just how I want them. So I've got my little pin cushion here and I've got some of my stars, and I'm going to start on one end of my scarf. It really doesn't matter where you start. And I'm just going to take one of my little yellow stars here and one little sewing needle, hopefully you can see it, and I'm just going to find a place to put him. I think I'm going to place him right here where there is pink and white yarn so that the yellow will stand out a little more. And I'm just going to catch some of the yarn with my sewing needle here, put it through the bead hole of the star, catch some more yarn on the way out, and there you go. He's just going to be safely secured on there while I add the other stars. Now, I like to add my stars in a little bit of a zigzag pattern. You can kind of see here I've got a yellow one here, a pink one here, and I've added a white one down here. So it kind of just makes a little zigzag pattern. And so I'm going to do that for the rest of the scarf. So it's been a few days and one hair appointment later, and I'm ready to start sewing on the star beads to my scarf. I've got my scarf right here with all my little star beads pinned on, and I also have some clear sewing thread. Alright, so I've got my first little bead I'm going to sew on right here, and I'm going to pull the needle up through the yarn from underneath the scarf. So I'm going to pull the end of my thread, and then we're going to pull our thread through. Try not to pull it too tight because you could end up pulling the little knotted end through the yarn on accident. And then we're going to insert the needle back into the yarn to go through the other side, and then we will pull our thread through, and there you go. You've just made your first little loop. So we're going to do the same thing again. I like to do about 4 passes of the needle just to secure it. So I've just knotted off my thread here. So I'm going to put down my needle, find the end of the thread here, and I've got some little sewing scissors, and I'm just going to get as close to that knot as possible without cutting the knot itself, and just snip the thread off. And there we go. We have secured our first little star bead. So now I'm going to do that for the rest of the beads on the scarf. Alrighty, all the star beads have been sewn onto my scarf from end to end, and now we are on to the final step in creating our kawaii scarf, and that is going to be adding fringe to the ends of the scarf. So I have pre-cut a bunch of little bundles of fringe. So what we're going to do with these guys is loop them through the ends of the scarf itself, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So I have made 10 total of these little fringe bundles, so that means 5 will go on one end and 5 will go on the other. Alright, so I've got the top of my scarf facing upward, and by top I mean the side that has the little star beads on it. So I've got my little fringe here, which is about a foot long of each of the different kinds of yarn or ribbon we want to use, so that when it's folded in half, the fringe will be about 6 inches long. Now you can have your fringe be however long you want. This is just what I prefer. And now what I'm going to do is pick a hole in the knit stitches of my scarf and just kind of mark it with my finger. So now what I'm going to do is take the little folded bundle of yarn that I have, and I am going to push it through from the top of the scarf through that little hole that I made with my finger. So now what we're going to do is take our little loop here, pull our strings through the loop, and now we're going to pull it tight. So we're going to create a little knot. So I've got one fringe done, and now I'm going to start on the other side here. And there we go, we have 2 little fringes left, and now I will add the other 3 in the middle. Alright, this end of the scarf is done. I think it looks really cute and fun. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other end of the scarf off camera, and then I'll show you the final result. I just threw on a quick little Lolita cord to show you how I'd style it with the scarf, and it's really cozy. Actually, my heater just kicked on and I am like dying. It is so hot with the scarf. It's so nice and warm and cozy. As you can see, with the length of the scarf, I was able to layer it up 3 times, I think. I did like a little wrapping back and forth, but you could style this so many different ways. You could also add a little like tie down here at the bottom to get the little strands of the scarf to be in the middle. You could just do a little wrap and tie through situation. I hope you had fun watching me make this scarf, and I hope that you give it a try yourself. If you do end up giving it a try yourself, please let me know down below in the comments how it turned out for you. And if you want to send me photos of your finished product, I do have an Instagram, which I will link down below. Feel free to DM me on there. I'd love to see your creations. Well guys, thank you so much for spending some time with me today on my channel. If you enjoyed my content today, please consider sticking around and hitting that subscribe button down below. I would really appreciate it. I hope you're staying warm and snuggly out there in this winter season, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!